Great, so we're running, and so I'm going to go ahead and mute my microphone, and I'll go ahead and just go down the order in which your names appear here on my participants list. So first up, Allison Hall, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes?
We're good. Actually, I'll stay unmuted so that I can actually respond.
Yeah, I know, but yeah. So Allison Hall, and hi everyone. Kelly and I are in the hotel in Elizabeth City joining you because we did a late night outreach session. So this is true dedication to our work.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Carolina Parrish. Can you unmute and just introduce yourself real quick? If you're not familiar with it, just go ahead and next to your name on the right side, just hit the little microphone button and that will unmute you. Right now I can't hear you, so
okay.
There you go.
Good morning. My name is Carolina. Well, here I am learning new things.
There you go.
All these technical stuff is kind of hard, but here we are.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us this morning. All right, and go ahead and remute yourself if you don't mind, and we'll go next to Danielle Sims. Hey, Danielle, I see you're unmuted, but I don't have any sound from you. Are you speaking into your mic? Okay, might be having some hardware issues on your end because I'm still not hearing anything. But you got the button. The button is, you got the right button over there. So maybe we can chat a little bit after the session on getting a microphone active. Nobody should really need it necessarily after this anyway. Oh, there you go. I hear sound now. I got something. Yep.
Okay. I was using the headset that was sent to me.
Oh, okay. I got you. And there must have just been a connection issue. Yeah, we can hear you well enough there. So great. Thanks, Danielle. And Eleanor, I know you know how to use WebEx, but just go ahead and practice. Why not?
Hey everyone, it's Eleanor. Thanks for being here this morning. Hope you learn a lot. Okay.
All right. Kathy Wilson is next. If you are with us, go ahead and click that microphone button next to your name.
Hey, Kathy's actually in listen mode, so she's just listening today. Yeah. Totally
fine. Well, there you go. No worries. Oh, she has a hand raised. That means high five. So there you go. Great. Oh, and if I should mention, if anybody has any problems during the session, you can go ahead and open up the chat window and excuse me, and just chat if you're unable to get to the microphone. So great. So if Kathy's in listen mode, we'll go to Kelly Cook.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm in the hotel with Allison. We're hoping for snow in Elizabeth City.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that would be exciting, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. That's right. I remember you said you were there with Allison. So thanks for unmuting yourself. Okay, next on my list is Linda Rowley. You can go ahead and correct me.
Morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
It's Rowley.
Okay.
Thank you. Good attempt. Awesome. I'm from Wilmington.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Next up, I have Marilyn on my list. All right, and I see that you've unmuted yourself, but I don't have any sound coming from you. Possibly just another hardware issue. So, yeah, that's all right. Let's go ahead and circle up after the session and make sure we get that hardware figured out, but it just sounds like there might be an issue with the headset or the mic or whatever it is, so no worries. We'll move on to Martha Everett for a moment.
Hi, Martha.
Hi, Martha. Yep. You're coming through loud and clear. Okay. Megan is next. It's the same deal. We may be having a little bit of a hardware issue. I wonder if these headsets might have like a mute button on them. You might have to toggle and make sure it's not muting itself on the actual headset. I'm not sure, but I'm not getting any sound from Megan either. But again, the button, you hit the right button to unmute yourself, so there's the first step. But we'll take a look, and I'll get with Eleanor afterwards and make sure that I know what hardware was given to you, so we can figure this out. Okay, Rhonda, give it a shot.
Hi, this is Rhonda.
Hey, Rhonda, I got you. How are you? Are you doing okay? Okay, yeah, that's all right. We'll move on. I got 3 more people in here on my list. Sarah Anderson.
Hello, this is Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Oh, my phone just interpreted that as Siri for some reason. I don't know why. That's the first time I've ever done that. And my phone just lit up. And thanks for joining us. Shannon Wilson.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. I can hear you okay. Yep.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, Tanya Covington. And it's seeming like we've got a few people who are in Tanya. I don't have any sound from you, so again, we'll have to circle up afterwards and make sure that we got some of these hardware issues resolved. But no worries. Thanks everybody for giving that a shot. So this is a great exercise to do for a first WebEx session. If you are going to be doing things, I usually recommend that for folks who are going to be teaching using WebEx. It's a good training exercise to get people in the habit of, well, number 1, figuring out how to use their microphone. And number 2, figuring out the logistics behind, hey, if you're not speaking, then you should be muted. And it's a good way to just get people to practice, hey, I want to speak, so I'm going to go ahead and click the button to unmute myself. But when I'm done, I'll mute it back up. So anyway, so thanks for going through that with me. Hopefully everybody is fairly familiar now with how to speak. So if you do have a question during the session, I don't have a problem if you wanted to unmute your mic and just go ahead and jump in. But if the question is not urgent or something that can wait a little while, just go ahead and throw it into the chat. And so I won't make everybody put a chat message in right now, but basically at the top of your window, there's a few icons that say participants, chat, and so forth. And so if you just click on chat and open that box up, you'll have a chance to send a message in there. So if you do have a question, I'll be keeping an eye on that as the session goes along. So go ahead and throw it in there. Or like I said, if it's something that you're just more comfortable with the microphone, feel free to just go ahead and jump in. I don't mind, but that's something that you should consider as well when you're hosting sessions, is how you prefer users to give you feedback in the middle of the session. So a lot of folks who have more of a presentation to do, if it was a webinar kind of thing, would probably encourage people to do the chat instead of just unmuting the microphones and everything. But I like to run my sessions a little less formally, so I don't care if you want to jump in and say something. So anyway, so okay, I have a chat from Kathy saying Carrie will be joining, and I have yeah, I see Carrie just joined us. So that's great. And Carrie, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and just test your microphone out, say hey to everybody, that's fine.
Hey guys.
How are you, Carrie?
I'm good. How about you? Sorry, I had a hard time connecting.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm glad you made it. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and move forward here. So this is a little bit unique. I don't often do WebEx trainings virtually. Using WebEx, it can be a little bit tricky to do, but it's okay. It's actually a little bit trickier still if I've got some folks in the room and some folks remote. So it is in some ways kind of nice to just be in a conference room by myself with everybody online, because I know that at least everybody's in the same playing field there. So what we're going to talk about today is just how to use WebEx at UNCG. I'll talk a little bit first about some of the resources available to you through our knowledge base, as well as give you an overview of what your account side will look like. Now, I know you guys are eventually all going to be using one shared secondary account, but I think it's still important to know where things are within that account space. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is start by doing a screen share. So later on, I'll show you how I'm doing all this. But since I want to show you a few things on the web page, I'll just go ahead and share my browser with you here in a second. Let me get the right application chosen. Great, so I'm in screen share mode now, so you should see the my web browser over here with the lovely Valentine's Day Google icon here. So, so first things first, I want to go ahead and just give you the master URL that we have here to our WebEx knowledge base, and that simply, like many things are here at UNCG, follows the URL convention of just thatthing.uncg.edu. It's hard to say and type at the same time. So if you just type in webex.uncg.edu, and that's WebEx, W-E-B-E-X, people miss that second E, you will end up at actually our knowledge base, which is fairly newly launched. This used to be a little microsite that we had, but this is now, sorry, just get some stuff out of the way on my end. This is now our knowledge base. So basically, you can kind of navigate through these pages. Some of them have links to other pages and other information. But you've got a bunch of stuff here that you can sift through. But the most effective way to navigate through a lot of this stuff is just to search for what you're looking for. So if you want information on recordings, how they work in WebEx, so you can just start typing recording, and then you've got a whole bunch of things that'll pop up here and answer your questions, hopefully. Or if you're looking for a question on how to use WebEx in Canvas, then there is a schedule a session for WebEx in Canvas, and then there's even a page about how to attend a session through Canvas as a student. So you've got the search feature up here is probably going to be your most go-to. I don't know exactly if they have any plans to expand the knowledge base so that I can pick and choose which related articles are here. Because honestly, there's a few things here that I don't quite like with the arrangement yet. There's a few things that if nobody knew what to search for, I think they'd have a hard time finding, honestly. So we're going to work on expanding this knowledge base, but for now, if you have a question or anything, you can look at the down here. There's the top viewed, so you can see what people are looking for. That's going to span our entire knowledge base. So things like finding the MAC address on my computer or what's the 6 Tech Service Center and all that are going to pop up there. But WebEx is one of the first services that we've onboarded into the knowledge base. So for the time being, at least, you'll have some more of an opportunity to see some of those articles possibly show up in the top viewed there. Okay, most importantly, though, is on this landing page here, you have the URL. And so you're going to get this right here to show you how to access WebEx directly. And you're going to be looking for this faculty staff link. You can bookmark that, and that's going to get you over into your WebEx account, where you'll go to log in and to have a quick link to your personal meeting room, which I'm told you're going to use a lot. And then that'll bring you to your account. So if you want to go ahead and follow along with me, you're welcome to, but it's not critical at this point. I know it's important for you to see the screen and everything. So, so if you were to click on this link and get out into that WebEx portal, I'm already logged in. Normally it would send you through single sign-on, your UNCG credentials and all that stuff. But I'm already signed in. I had to sign in to get into this meeting. So yeah, so this is the WebEx portal, and up at the top section here, you'll notice that you've got the account you're logged in at. So one of the challenges you might face if you guys are all using a secondary account, sharing that, and then the intent is for you to use that for your WebEx sessions. You may, because of the way that single sign-on works, if you're signed into another service like Canvas or Box or Google or anything, SSO might remember your credentials. So double check to make sure. I mean, you'll probably see it in big text here in the middle of the page as well, but double check up here at the top to make sure that you're in at the right account. And if you're not, just go ahead and log out, revisit the URL, and log in with the shared account that you're going to be using. Okay. Normally at this stage, I'll go through and go through a whole bunch of different options, including how to start and schedule a meeting. But what I'm going to do, since I know that we've got a very focused use case here, is I might save that toward the end of the session if we have time for it. Because right now I know that our main concern is how to get into and start your sessions. We'll be scheduling them outside of WebEx, from what I understand, kind of using the main personal meeting room for your account. So basically, that just means that the scheduled time, all you have to do is hit this URL, get to the WebEx portal here, and then this big green button that I usually tell people to avoid for the time being, that's the one you're going to want. So if you click on Start Meeting, what it's going to do for you is launch you straight into the personal meeting room. So the personal meeting room is like basically a virtual office, is the way I describe it. So right now I'm sitting in a conference room in my building, and it's kind of like this personal meeting room would be a virtual conference room, I guess, your virtual office. So if you're in there, people can they know where it is, they know how to find it. The link you send them will never change. So if they know they have a meeting in 124 Neal Street, which is where I am right now, they'll know to come in here, knock on the door, and come on in. It's the same thing with your meeting room. So you'll have a URL that's given out to everybody who's going to be participating, and then at the time that they need to get in, they'll just click the link and they will join. Okay. The difference between that and a scheduled session is a scheduled session has its own unique URL that's valid only between a certain time frame. So the one that you guys clicked on to get into this session, I scheduled that session from 9 to 11. So if you try to come back at 12 and join that session, it's going to say, sorry, the session has ended. That's the difference. The meeting room is kind of like an always open session that you've got available to you. Now, it does require the host to be in the session. Otherwise, you get, if I tried to join your meeting room and you weren't in it, I'd be dropped into your lobby instead. And then when you joined, you'd see that, hey, somebody's waiting in your lobby, and they'd be able to actually come into the session. So that's a quick overview of how the personal meeting room differs from actually scheduling a separate WebEx session. So anyway, so that's how you would join your session. Simply just log in, click the big green button, and you're good to go. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of quick things that might be handy as you navigate through here. I don't know exactly what will be going on in these sessions, if they're going to be recorded, if they're going to be, feedback requested afterward or whatever. But I'll just kind of go through the left-hand side menu over here and just give you an overview of some of the things you have available. Okay, so your My Meetings area will show the WebEx meetings you have scheduled. Again, if you're not scheduling sessions with a secondary account, this won't be of any use to you. You're just going to use your personal meeting room. But if in future you start wanting to schedule things through WebEx, then this would be a great WebEx calendar to show you when you've got your stuff coming up. So for example, mine shows me, hey, I've got a 9 o'clock meeting. There you go. And it's a quick way to go ahead and join or end the meeting if you want to. The personal room link over here on the left is going to take you back to where we landed. So if you ever need to come back, if you're browsing around this area and need to come back and find that big green button under My WebEx, My Personal Room is where you go. The most useful place for you probably will be your My Files area. Again, if you are recording anything, this is where you're going to find those recordings. And so up at the top here on the My Recordings tab, you'll see a bunch of different links split out. And so they're split out by type of session. So what's important is that WebEx is actually made up of 4 different products. So you see these buttons here at the top of the screen. And so you've got Meeting Center, Event Center, Support Center, and Training Center. Right now, what we're using is Meeting Center, and that's what's going to power your personal rooms as well. The other centers have a few different capabilities. They're all fairly similar with the exception of Support Center, which is mostly used for IT support. It's a way for if someone's having a problem with the computer, I can get easy remote access to that machine and possibly help with some technical issues. But other than that, meeting, training, and event are all fairly similar. They have a fairly similar base feature set with a couple of added goodies here and there to help manage things like webinars or like paid training sessions you have to register for. Anyway, so on this recordings page, it also breaks out your recordings in a similar way. So for me to see any recordings from Meeting Center events, I go over here to where it says Meetings, and I click Meetings. Let's start down here. So here are some of the sessions recently that I have recorded. Okay. So I want to go through my Training Center recordings. I go to Training Sessions. I don't think I have anything here. Yeah, I haven't run Training Center sessions in a while. And same thing with the Event Center. Okay. So that's where you'll find your recordings. So the reason I point all this out is because if you are looking for recordings and you come over to My Files, by default, you're dropped for some reason into this miscellaneous category. I don't know why. So you just click on Meetings over here at the left, and then you'll get to all the recordings that were made in Meeting Center. You'll also notice over here on the right side of the page, it lists our recording storage. And that recording storage is a cumulative storage. So this is going to show you all the storage that's being used across UNCG, not just your personal account. Typically speaking, we don't see this number get much bigger than 50, maybe sometimes 60%. And that's because we have a lifespan set on our recordings. So any recordings you make are going to last for 30 days inside of WebEx, at which point they will be automatically downloaded for you, deleted from WebEx, and uploaded to your Box account. So again, you're going to have a secondary account you're going to be using here through WebEx. So if you're going to be recording sessions, they will be available here in the My Files area of WebEx for 30 days. And then after that, you'll just have to go to box.uncg.edu with that secondary account, and you should automatically see that those recordings are now living in Box, and we don't remove them from Box because we have unlimited storage there. Whereas with WebEx, we've only got about 100 gig. So that's kind of an overview of where to find your recordings. Basically, if it's not here, then check Box, and it should be there. So, all right. Continuing down the left-hand side here, my contacts, my profile, preferences are probably not going to be of any use really to you at this point in time with the shared account. My reports, if you go there, that will give you the ability to go through and generate things like a usage report or recording links report, meeting recording report, to kind of see all these different things that'll basically give you the ability to go ahead and see who joined. So I'm going to go ahead and do a usage report real quick. So I'm going to go for the last, I think I've had a couple meetings in the last week, so I'll just display my report. Yeah, and so there you go. There's a bunch of these sessions, and you can see, you know, who has been in attendance at these sessions. So if I choose, let's see, there's 5 people who went to this meeting here, so I'll go ahead and get some detail on that, so I can see all the folks who were here. It must be that I just joined in a bunch of times myself. But you can generally get an idea of who joined, what time they came in, what time they left, and all the other details about the session attendees. Maybe if I click the other one, so there's this session here, and try this link and see if it gives me any more detail. Yeah, so there we go. There's a little more detail on the people who were in the meeting. So you can get a better report, and you can also export these reports or print them out if you wanted to kind of have that detail there. So anyway, and then training and support should take you out back to our knowledge base here. I will point out if you need support, you can find this WebEx support and training page, and what this will have for you is links up here to vendor documentation. So if you need a quick getting started guide to Meeting Center, you can click on this one, and that'll take you out to the documentation that's maintained by Cisco. There's a ton more stuff here, but I also wanted to point out this here on the page, where you've got the ability here to call this 800 number and get support from Cisco 24/7. So I mentioned that, I mean, of course, because Tech is always available to help, but they're primarily business hours. Of course, we have service desk staff 24 hours, but the folks here in my group, including myself, who are the second tier support, we're only here generally between 8 and 5. And so if you're running a session after hours, or if you just know you want to be able to talk to somebody who's an expert right away, this 800 number is available for anybody. That goes for you. And it does say for account holders here, I got to get them to change that because anybody can use that 800 number to try and join a session. If you're running a session and inviting somebody outside of UNCG and they're having a hard time getting in or having a hard time with something or other, this number, they can totally use this number too. It's not limited to UNCG account holders, like it says in the site. Okay, so it'd be a good thing to keep in mind. All right. Okay, so that was a lot of talking about nothing to do with actually using WebEx, and so I try to get that out of the way at the beginning, so I don't have to come back and talk about it later. Like once we get into using WebEx itself, you know, I want to stay using WebEx itself. So if there are any questions about any of that, you can go ahead and either chat them in or unmute yourself and ask questions real quick. I'll just take a second and pause, get a drink of water here. So if there's any questions, go ahead and ask now. All right, I see nothing coming in. So I will either assume that I was exceptionally clear or that it was exceptionally boring. So I'll go with the first one, just to make me feel a little better. So I'm going to do is go ahead and stop sharing. I'm going to get us back into the WebEx here. And so instead of seeing my screen now, you should be able to see this whiteboard that I entered here where I included the introductory text. So let me go ahead and actually share with you my WebEx window. And let me see, there we go. So I'm now sharing my meeting window. Let me go ahead and minimize my video here. So what you should be seeing right now is my WebEx meeting window. What I'm actually going to do, if you give me just a second, I meant to do this before I started and then I totally forgot. I'm going to get my mobile phone hooked up to this meeting as well, just because I want to make sure that I know what you're seeing. So this is a good tactic that while I'm doing this, if you are in a session and you want to make sure you know exactly what people are seeing on your screen, use a second computer or use a mobile device like this to just kind of have it on the side while you're hosting on your main machine. That way you know exactly what turn the volume down. Yeah, there you go. So that way you know exactly what people are actually able to see on your WebEx session. The volume won't go all the way down. Okay. All right, there we go. So now I know exactly what you're able to see on here. I can see that you are able to see my entire window, and that'll help me to you know, better navigate this training here. So, all right. And anyway, so you can see one of the ways here that I structured this was I basically built up a new whiteboard here with just some introductory text. And those were introductory instructions for you. So as you entered the room, you saw this text here with the instructions that say, make sure you join the conference, make sure your mic is muted. We will be recording this. And then if you have questions, chat is a good way to get them to me. And so all of that was kind of put up there through the whiteboard. So the way that I did that, when you share content in WebEx, you go up here to the share menu and you can pick and choose from any of these options here. So I just did whiteboard, and you can see that when I did that, it came up to a new tab up here in the top, and now it's a completely blank slate whiteboard. So I chose a red color here from the color palette. I can choose from any of these 16 colors, and I just chose the text tool. And I typed my text. All right. And then as soon as I did that, it popped up there. And I put it into the whiteboard. And then as soon as basically I left my screen showing the whiteboard here. As the host, when I am sharing content, whatever content I have selected up here at the top is going to show up for all participants. So you notice as I'm switching back and forth between whiteboards, actually what you're going to see now is my window. But if you were not viewing my meeting window, you would notice that this is actually prompting you to, it's automatically bringing you to the whiteboard that I am sharing with you that I've selected. So I have a question in from Megan. Can you see us? A number of people where it's too many, we can no longer see each other. Okay, good question. So let me talk a little bit about the participants panel over here on the right side of the window. So I'm viewing mine in list view. What you can do is come over here and go into thumbnail view. I'm going to go do that now, and then see what that looks like. So I don't remember how many people we've got here, but it looks like we've got close to 16 to 18 people. So when you're in thumbnail view, you're going to view, I guess, both thumbnails, that's what it is, of each person. And if anybody had a video camera running, you'd be able to see that here. And so that's good for smaller sessions if you know you're not going to have a ton of people in there and you want this. You want to always be able to see each other's webcams. Now, everybody can change this to their own liking. So if you wanted to see something different, if you wanted to go to list view instead, you could click on the other option up here, which is view list, which is the way that I usually do things. I don't necessarily run a ton of meetings where I feel the need to have everybody's webcam visible. So that would help there. You have the option to control that. Now, again, everybody can control that independently. So if you wanted to see something different, you can change this option yourself. And so, yeah, you're welcome. Let me go ahead and refold this. Now, something else that I should point out here as well is I have done something additional here myself, which for this session, I wanted to make sure that my video was going to be the active video. Now, normally when you start a WebEx session, it's going to be in active speaker mode. So you can see on my window here, it's prompting me to switch to see active speaker. And so if I click that, I can do that. And right now it has chosen Linda for some reason as the active speaker. Obviously I'm the active speaker. And for all of you guys out there with this mode on, you will see my window still as the big main window here in your participants panel. The reason that I'm showing something different is because this window is never going to show your own video. So even though I am the active speaker, I'm in the little picture-in-picture down here, and it's never going to show me to myself in the big window, unless I did what I was doing before, which is to lock a specific participant. And I basically said, hey, no matter what, I just want to make sure that my video is being shown here. So now no matter who's speaking, you'll notice when you go back and watch the recording, if you watch the recording, during the intro session where I had everybody unmute their mics and talk for a little bit, you'll notice that the video camera stayed on my picture, and that's because I had it locked. And so that is something that you can do here. Again, if you just hover your mouse up over the big picture, you get all these options like how to, the display mode for the camera, as well as the display mode for the participants panel as well. Okay. Up to you how you want the session to run. If you don't change anything here, it's not going to adversely impact your session, in my opinion. One of the reasons I like to use list view personally is because I get better view into what everybody here is doing. I get their microphone icons. I should get their microphone. You know, I think I actually screwed something up here by joining this from my phone, because now my phone is also connected to my account and is the host here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get out of that. I'm trying to figure out how I can do that, because my phone is the host. If I leave, then that means the meeting will end, and we don't want to do that. But this is a good opportunity to explain. See, I'm totally winging this. This is great. the difference between roles in WebEx. I may as well take some time to explain so that you understand what my conundrum is right now. So the host for the session. So the host is the owner of the session. So when you log into WebEx and you start your session, you click the big green button that says Start Meeting and you get into your personal meeting room. The host is the one who owns that room. So in your case, it will be the secondary account. That account will show up here as the host. And until I joined with my phone, I was showing as the host because it was my room. And now, of course, my phone also thinks it's me. And so it has said, oh, well, clearly you're the host now. So the host has certain privileges in the meeting that nobody else does. And so the host is the one who can sit here and look at everybody's microphone status. If there was somebody whose microphone wasn't muted and needed to be, if they forgot to mute themselves after talking or whatever it was, the host has control to control those microphones for the participants. And up until I joined on my phone, I was the host and I did see those buttons. So right now, I'm not the host, so I can't see those buttons, but I'll fix that in a second. But there's a secondary role here that actually will allow me to control meeting flow. So you'll notice that I'm still, my computer, I should specify, my computer user here is still running this meeting. So I am controlling what content we see up here as I switch whiteboards. Every participant's whiteboard view is going to switch. Okay, and that's because I'm the presenter. Okay? So there's the host role, who's kind of the overall boss for the session. And by default, when you enter a meeting, you're the host and you're the presenter. But the presenter is the one who's actually, I use it kind of, probably a bad analogy, but I basically say, so if you're driving a bus, if the WebEx session is a bus, the host is the one who's got the keys, but the presenter is the one who's actually driving, right? And so to start with, the host is both. But right now, I'm the presenter, so I'm kind of driving the bus. And so you'll notice that on my screen here, I have this little WebEx ball icon. And that indicates that I'm the one who's the presenter. And the presenter can always relinquish control by taking this ball and dragging it to somebody else. Okay? And the host has the ability to come in here and grab the ball and move it at will, no matter what. So again, the host is always in control of the session, but the presenter is the one who's actually controlling what's seen on the screen. The presenter role is also the one that can screen share. So if you are doing a session and you require that other people in the session are going to need to do some screen sharing, or you want them to upload a document to share, you'll have to give them presenter privileges for them to be able to do that. And again, you do that by dragging this ball over to another user. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, I don't know if this will ever be something that comes up for you, but I'm going to share with you how the host key works. All right. So the host key is kind of like your master password for a WebEx session. The host key is something that you shouldn't share with people because what it'll allow them to do is if they know the host key, they can come in and basically, what it's designed for is for you to be able to hand off the keys, the host keys, to somebody else for the session. If you have this meeting scheduled and let's say today I got sick and I needed to hand this off to one of my colleagues here to run this session, it's scheduled under my account. And so that link that you guys had, it was important. You guys had that link and you needed to be able to use it to get into the session. So if I had canceled my WebEx session and had somebody else schedule a new one, that means it's a new link and they'd have to give you that new link and maybe some of you would get it, maybe some of you wouldn't. It would be a little more confusion. So rather than doing that, what I would do in that case is I would, whoever's going to sub for me in the session, I would give them my host key and say, here, join the meeting, use the host key, take control of my session, and run it for me. That way the link to the session never changes, and all that. Again, not entirely relevant to your use case because you're going to be using the personal meeting room, but I'm going to have to do it right now anyway, so you're going to see a bunch of stuff. I may as well explain what I'm doing. So I'm going to jump up and grab the host key for this session. And it's in my calendar here. Let me just thumb over to it. So I'm doing other things on my computer right now. I'm in my calendar app, and because I'm sharing my meeting window only, you're not able to see it. I'll get into the differences there in the sharing modes but I'll point that out as well. So I'm on my host key here. I'm going to grab it, and I am going to come up here and, okay, so I've got my host key, and in the participant menu at the top, there is this option that says reclaim host role. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is reclaim the host role, and I am going to paste it real quick and hit OK. Not that I'm worried about anybody, you know, jumping in and stealing the host role, but it's just one of those things that I get paranoid about. Anyway, so I've punched in that 6-digit host key, and you'll now notice on my screen that I have reclaimed the host role from my mobile phone. My mobile phone is now still a participant in the session, which I am going to end because I don't think it's actually doing me any good. Since I can't actually, there we go. For some reason, I couldn't actually turn my sound all the way down, so I was getting a little echo of myself, and so that was a little bit annoying. Anyway, so let me see if we've got anybody else coming in here. If you're using a secondary account, we need to hand off the host role, or will we all be able to access a secondary account? And if I understand correctly, and Eleanor can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the account you'll be using will be a shared credential situation. So everybody will be able to basically have the password to that account. And so what you would do at that point is log in, you know, again, you would log into your, through the web portal to WebEx and hit start session, and you just log in with those, that account credentials. Is it NCRLAP is the username, and then you'll have the password to it. So as I understand it right now, no, you don't need to worry about the host key. But I just wanted you more or less to know what I was doing just now. So you're very welcome. All right, great. So again, now that I've reclaimed that host role and I'm back to being the host, you'll notice that I now have microphone control over everybody here. I can click buttons and mute and unmute people as I want to. So great. So I'll go through real quick and just touch on a couple other things that might be handy here to know about. So I've kind of covered most of the participant panel stuff: how to change the camera view, how to manage users over here. If you want a quick and easy way to manage a user, you can always right-click on somebody, and then there's a lot of shortcuts you have here, like changing their role to presenter or host. You can give them annotation privileges on the whiteboard, or you can assign them specific privileges if you want. There's a mute and unmute. There's a mute all and unmute all. There's also an expel button. So if someone is, you know, causing a problem, you can expel the user. If you use the expel function, I also would recommend coming up here to meeting lock meeting, because that basically locks the door. If you kick somebody out, they can just rejoin until you do this. I've never had to kick anybody out. I don't think I'm going to have to start today. So, but it's there if it's needed. All right. Okay. So the panels up here at the top right, I've mentioned the word panel a few times, and I just want to make sure I'm clear as to what it is. So everything up here at the top right of the screen is considered a panel. Now the panels all have little icons up here, and the gray indicates that they're currently closed, and the blue indicates they're currently open. So I've got the participants panel open here, as you can see. If I just simply click that icon again to toggle it, now I've got no panels open. All the icons up here are gray. I can click one to toggle it on and off. So especially as you're getting started with WebEx, the recommendation I have for you as you're going forward, you're going to need to switch panels occasionally. So I've been kind of navigating back and forth between the participants, the chat, and the recorder. When you get a bunch of panels open at the same time, it can be a little bit kludgy here and a little bit tough to manage as to which one's open and which one's closed. There's these little dinky arrows over here that are for unfolding and refolding them. So what I recommend is basically just, okay, when in doubt, get rid of all the panels and just open the one you want. It's the cleanest experience for me when if I want to go to chat, if I first untoggle participants and then go to chat. It takes up the entire side of the screen here. I don't have any question as to what I'm looking at, even for the recorder. It's like there's nothing in the recorder panel. It's not very big, but I know at least I'm looking at that panel and I have to go searching for it, trying to unfold it or do whatever. If you have multiple panels open, you can do it. And of course, I'm at the point right now, I've used WebEx enough where I know how to handle these unfolding menus and all that, but still, for me, I still like the experience better if I'm looking at one panel at a time. So again, if you got to switch panels, what I recommend is first untoggle and then toggle. So turn everything off and then just turn on the one you want to look at. So your mileage may vary, that's just my recommendation, but that's, again, I find it to be really confusing if you have a ton of panels open at the same time. Okay. So let me start off talking about the, recordings as well, before I forget. I'm currently recording the session. So when I pulled up the recorder panel, it was showing me a record button over here instead of the pause button. So as we go through here, you're going to want to make sure you are looking and double checking. If you're recording sessions, it's going to tell you in several places that you're recording. It'll tell you down here at the bottom you're recording. In your recorder panel, it'll be showing the time counting up that you've been recording for. Double check that before you get started and get too far. Because a lot of folks get confused because the record button is inside the recorder panel, so they'll say, oh, I hit the recorder button, so I'm recording. And they'll go away. And actually, in actuality, they haven't hit the real record button, which is listed in here. So just make sure that if you need to record, your time is actually counting up. Okay. Once you start recording, you've got the option to stop or to pause. So if during this session we wanted to take a break, I'm not planning on it personally, but if we were to say, okay, everybody will take a 10-minute break, I could come in here, hit the pause button, come back from break, hit the resume button again, and we would be recording again. And it would be the same single recording file, but it would just not be recording that 10 seconds, right? That 10 minutes of break time. So it's a way to kind of cut down on overhead. Whereas if I hit stop and then I restart, what I'm going to end up with in the end is 2 recording files from the same session, which is maybe that's what I want in some cases, but if I were to do that in this particular session, I would not do that because I would want you to be able to just have one recording file to be able to look at instead of saying, well, here's part 1 and here's part 2 of the training session. So anyway, that's all there in the recorder panel. Again, just make sure that the numbers are counting up as you go and then while you're recording. I'm going to expand the participants panel here. So most of the time when I'm running a session, I'm over here in the participants panel because I like to have that quick interface into who's speaking or who's in the session. I just kind of like to keep an eye on who's got a mic on or whatever it is. That's my personal mode of operation. Let's see, what else? What am I forgetting? Oh, webcam. If you are going to be using a webcam, I just got a message that said something about network problems, so hopefully everything still sounds okay. But webcam, if you're going to be working with a webcam in the participants panel over here, I've got the one built-in webcam on my computer, which is right here, but some computers I have an external webcam as well because it's better than the built-in webcam. And so when I am, or if I'm in a conference room, I've done that as well, picking the conference room camera instead of my personal laptop camera. To choose your camera, all you got to do is click this little gear button up here next to the actual participant's heading. And then that will allow you to pick which camera you're using here from a drop-down menu. I only have the one camera right now, so it's a bad example, but if I had several cameras, I could just pick from the drop-down and choose which camera to use. Okay. I think that covers the panel section. So I think the more important piece for you all is going to be to figure out how to share content. So we'll go with that. And I do see a question coming in, so I'll take a second. I'll take my own advice and open up the one panel. How recordings are automatically sent to, okay, how long you're archived. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and discuss the recordings here. I'll show you an example of that. Sure, I'll do it right now. Why not? So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my meeting window, and I'll go through the workflow. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you just the I'm going to give you the one link to rule them all here for your recording. So again, I mentioned earlier in the session that on the WebEx portal, let me share again. Let me go back here and share my browser with you so we can get through and take a look at some of this stuff a little more live. So in your WebEx portal, in the My Files area, you've got this meetings heading up here, and this will show you all of the meetings that are recent within 30 days. I've got a few stragglers here from 2016 because I was the one who built the thing to download the recordings, and I just got a bunch of stuff hanging out here because I just didn't delete it. So you will never see anything in this session that's older than 30 days. Okay, and so as I mentioned, when you have your recordings will eventually end up in Box, and so I should be in Box with my through single sign-on with my personal account here, and so I will show you what you're going to end up with is something like this. You'll see these WebEx recording files folders. So I'm going to go to the one that's from this calendar year, WebEx recording files 2018, and that's Libera. And here is all of the files here. You can see some of them have been uploaded February 12th, February 8th, and the date, you can parse out this little string here in the file name itself, 2018-01-12. So that recording was from January 12th. It was uploaded to Box February 12th, 30 days after it was made. And you'll see that, hey, it's a WebEx workshop 2018-01-12. I don't have anything from that in my WebEx account here. So that, you'll see that process is working properly. These are meetings that I've got here from, I've got a couple of them, a couple of recordings from earlier this month that will be offloaded to Box next month. So all that happens automatically. And again, everybody here, if you're not using Box yet, you've got it here. You're just going to box.uncg.edu. Now, the way that these work is they're going to always go to the host account Box account, the host user's Box account. Okay, there we go. That's better. So if you guys are in under the NCRLAP account, then what you're going to see is the recording files you make there will be uploaded to the NCRLAP Box account. So you'll notice here in the heading, the folder that's created for me automatically is titled WebEx recording files, the year, and then the username. Okay, so all recordings you make with that secondary account are going to go to the secondary account's Box account. They'll be there and share. And I think I saw that was the question Steve was pointing out. Let me, yes, exactly. Yeah, so you have a shared Box account using those NCRLAP credentials, and that's where your recordings will go. Exactly. So I'll be here. So the question always comes in as to, well, how do we keep track of which recordings are where? It's tough. I mean, how do I know that I made that recording 30 days ago or not, or blah, 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 blah. So two things. Number one, let me first just adjust the setting on my computer here to stop some notifications from popping up. First things first is as soon as you have an active recording in WebEx, so as soon as you've got at least one recording showing up here, you're going to start getting an email at the recording owner's account. So again, this will be the NCRLAP email account. That's basically a weekly digest, a weekly summary of all active recordings you have in WebEx. Okay, so it'll say, hey, you made this recording, and you made it on 2/19/18, and it'll expire in WebEx on 3/9/18. Or whatever it is. And so in that email, you'll also get a link sent out to a web page. And I will, let's see, user services, there's a short link for this, and I don't remember what it is. So this URL, which I'll put in the chat if anybody wants to copy and paste. This is a little intermediary page that we built here. Okay, that is a complete summary. Here, let me just go ahead and paste this in chat while I'm waiting here. There we go. So you can feel free to save that, copy that, bookmark it, whatever you need to do. But again, using single sign-on, so you know that you're in this account up here. This will show you all the recordings that you have available to you and their current status. So again, these two recordings here that I've got from the 12th and the 9th, it's telling me are in WebEx, and here's the WebEx link to download those files. Okay, and those again, that mirrors what I see here. Here's the handful that are in Box from this year, and you can see that I've got those ones listed right here as unavailable in WebEx. but available to me in Box. And so here's the direct links that I can use. So again, if you're unsure of where your recording actually is, or if you just want a quick way to go and get at your recording, this URL is great. Just log in with your NCRLAP account, and you've got the ability to quick see, okay, is my recording active in WebEx? Here it is, download it. Is my recording active in Box? No, here it is, download it. Okay. So there we go. So Steve, I hope that helps explain how the flow works. Right now in Box, we don't yet have any policies around deleting files from Box. So basically, I mean, I've still got files here from, I've got recording files here from 2016. So I don't know exactly why that file is in there. I don't think it's my recording, but there's a bunch of, yeah, there's, I got a lot of artifacts here when I was testing this feature that we were building. So whatever works. The point is, I still got a lot of recordings in here from other years, and we're not planning on removing them anytime in the near future. So once your recordings are there, they're there. Okay, I'm going to get back out of my screen share here and come back to the WebEx. All right. Are there any other questions about the recording process or about any of the panels up at the top right before I move on to the content sharing piece? Anything I can help with there? I'll take a drink of water and give you time to respond. All right, I'll keep pushing ahead. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit interesting here. I'm probably going to jump in and out of sharing my WebEx window and going back to the actual WebEx because I want to show the process. Usually, this is the part that's a lot easier in person because I've got the ability to project my screen up on the board so that hey, you always know what it looks like to the presenter, which is what you're going to eventually see. But I also want you to know what it looks like to the attendee, right? And so when I'm in class, when I'm in a classroom or a training lab, I have the ability to always have the presenter view up on the board, whereas everybody's in the room is on a computer and has the attendee view right there, the reference, so you can quickly see back and forth. So I'm going to do my best to kind of emulate that experience here, but I'm going to do it by changing what I'm sharing, and so hopefully we don't lose anything in translation there. So I'll do my best to narrate that process as well as I can. It's not something you should have to do when you run a session. So I'm going to go ahead and share my meeting window again. So now you're back into being able to see my entire WebEx window. Okay. So as I mentioned before, when you share content, it's going to come up to the top here in different tabs. And so I've got a couple of whiteboards. So this was my intro message. This was the whiteboard I put up as an example. And as I share more types of content, it'll all appear up here, and I can thumb through it. And then the presenter controls what is viewed when to the users. All right. So as the presenter, I have the ability to come up here, and let's say I've got a whole bunch of whiteboards here that I'm working with that I have typed text on or instructions on or whatever it is. I've got images pasted in or whatever it is that I have. The top here can be a little bit confusing to navigate because now you'll notice it says whiteboard, 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 whiteboard. And I can sit here and say, well, which whiteboard was it? I don't remember which one it was. I got to thumb through and fumble through it. Or you can come up here anytime, any piece of content, and you can double click and you can rename it. So that's the welcome instructions. Sample board 1, maybe this is financial or whatever it is, or this is, clerical. Whatever I want to name them, I can name them. I can name them something pertinent to the actual session, or I can just name them something that makes sense to me because I'm the one who's got to be able to navigate them and get back and forth between them. Okay. Now a whiteboard can have multiple pages. That's kind of a fun one. So instead of a physical like whiteboard in class, I always think of the those giant Post-it pads that you put up there, so you can just flip the page. I know you know what I'm talking about. And so to add a page to any whiteboard, you just come up here to the edit menu, and you click Add Page. So now I'm on page 2. I can type something different. I can take my marker and I can draw a smiley face or whatever it is I want to draw. And you can see that I'm still on that one whiteboard, but I am just on page 2 of the whiteboard. So I can go come back through to page 1, page 2. And all of that will still work for the participants. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my window for a second to give you guys the experience of what happens here. Stop sharing. There it is. So you're no longer seeing my WebEx window. You're seeing the content here. And you'll notice if I start thumbing through content, you're pulled along with me. So no matter what I'm looking at, you're looking at the same thing. So I'm going to go back over here to page 2 of this welcome instructions. And now you're flipping through with me. I'm going to go ahead and add a page. I'm going to change the color of my font, and I'm going to say, this is blue. And you see that pop up on your screen. So again, as the presenter of the session, that's the power that I have to control what you're looking at. As well, if I wanted to really focus on one section of this document, I have zoom controls here. Now I'm clicking the zoom in button, and you guys don't see anything changing on your end of things. That is a neat feature that I'll show you, but I want you guys all to find for me on your screens, if you can. There's a view menu at the very top. This is the application menu, at the very top of your window. So where it says File, Edit, Share, View. You can find the View menu, and there's an option in there toward the bottom that says Synchronize My Display. Go ahead and click that button. And what you should see as you click that button is you should see that I have zoomed in a bunch on this paragraph of text. Okay, so the Synchronize My Display button is a good way to make sure that you're looking at as the participant is the same as what the presenter is looking at. Okay, and again, by default, it's not going to help with things like make sure you're looking at the same document, because by default, the presenter controls what document, what page you're looking at. But it's this zoom level that can be synchronized, it can be controlled individually. So then on the same token, if you guys individually click zoom in or zoom out, you have the ability to control that on your own. So if you need to look at something closer up because your computer screen is smaller, or you have a harder time reading things closer up or whatever, then you have the ability to control those zoom controls on your own independently. But you can always get back to what the presenter is looking at by going to that view menu and going Synchronize My Display. Okay. Now, in a similar token, I have the ability here. I'm going to zoom in a whole lot more here, and I'm going to go ahead and now pull you to me. So as the presenter, mine doesn't say Synchronize My Display. Mine says Synchronize for All, and I'll show you this in a second. But what I want to show you first is how that affects you. So I'm going to click the button right now, and now you see that I've zoomed in a whole lot farther on the words good morning. Okay, so you have at any time the ability to use that Synchronize button as the participants to pull yourselves to me, but then I've also got Synchronize for All to be able to pull you all to where I am myself. Okay, so I just wanted to show that. So I'm going to just go ahead and do a fit to page to get back to normal. Do one more Synchronize for All. So now we should be looking at this back to normal size. Okay, so I'll go ahead and reshare my meeting window. There was a chat message that came in I wanted to grab real quick. Can a whiteboard be used across different presentations? You can create a single whiteboard and reuse it on a different date. The answer to that is yes, you can do that pretty easily. So whenever you've created a whiteboard, you always have the option as a presenter to click the Save button down here in the corner. And I'm sharing my meeting window, so now I know you can see what I'm looking at. So if you click Save, then you can, I guess I don't know if you can see this little pop-up window that I'm looking at, but it's your typical system save dialog box. It'll ask you what you want to call it, where you want to save it, and what format you want to save it in. You'll be given two different formats. I'm going to assume that you can see this. I'm not sure, though, that you can. You'll be given the option to save in UCF format or PDF format. Okay. And so both of those can be pulled into a later session. So if you save it in PDF format, PDFs, like I'll show you in a minute here, you can suck into your WebEx and you can display them, and it's really super easy to do. And there's this UCF format as well. So I'll show you I'll tell you the difference. Or rather, I guess I'll explain it with a question. So the question you need to ask when you're choosing format is, do you need to be able to continue editing your annotations? So what I mean by that, let me cancel this real quick. Let me just make a few more marks here on the page. So if I needed to mark this up and you know, if I'm making a smiley face, I apparently am a smiley face kind of guy. I don't know why. But So if you're doing all this extra stuff on your page, right? If I save this in a UCF format, then the next time I come to and load it up in my WebEx session, I can come in here and start erasing some of these marks. Ooh, that's not what I meant to do. Can I undo that? Thank you. But I can come in here and start erasing some of these extra marks. So it preserves your whiteboard annotations as individual items that you can then manipulate later. If you export it to PDF, it's basically a PDF is kind of like a final printed copy. So I'd still get what I see on the screen here. I'd still get a document that looks like this, but I could not then come in and erase some of this extra text that I put on top, right? I'd be stuck with whatever it is I drew last time. Okay. So that's the difference. But yes, the answer is you can come in here at any time, click the Save button here in any state of the document, save it out to a UCF or PDF, and then later on, you can pull it into a future session. So on that topic, let me go ahead and show a little more about the different types of content you can share. So I understand that I think from what Eleanor described, you'll probably be doing mostly PowerPoint, but I do want to show a few options as far as that goes. And so you can kind of pick and choose how you might want to handle this. So again, I'll direct you up here to the share menu, and there's plenty of shortcuts for this. Like you may have noticed that there's a new whiteboard button up here on my screen, and then if I'm on the quick start page, there's a whole share shortcut right here. There's plenty of shortcuts, but again, especially for new users, I always like to share with them the most comprehensive way of doing something. So to see your full list, your full gamut of options here, up at the very top, I always go to share. And then you've got the ability to come here and see every little option you've got as to what you want to share. Okay, so I think I just put something by accident, but I think it was the last option that I'm already doing, so that's okay. I'm going to show you some of the different file options we've got here. So as I mentioned before, WebEx can handle PDFs, okay? So I'll go ahead and show you an example of what that would look like. I'll go ahead and pull up the file here. And I'm not sure if you can see any of this. This little extra dialog box that's popping up here. Yeah, let me pull this up real quick. This is a PDF file that I have, a PDF printout. And you can see as I pull the content in, it has added a new tab at the top here. And if I click on it, then it will bring all my users over to see it. Okay, so I'm going to do some zoom, and then if I zoom in, I want everybody to be able to see that. I'm going to scroll to a certain spot in the document. You're looking at my window, so you're looking at what I would do as the presenter. So here's that button, that synchronize for all button that I was talking about before. So if I click synchronize for all, then that would bring everybody to this particular zoom level and scroll position for this document. Okay. So anyway, this PDF is actually a printout. I forgot I had this. It's a printout of the email that you're going to get weekly if you have a recording. So you've got a listing here of, hey, here's when your recordings were created, here's when they expire, and here's the big button, the big blue button. It'll be blue in your actual email. I just printed white for some reason. The big blue button that'll take you over to that page that I shared the URL for in the chat. So anyway, but point is here that this is a PDF file, right? This is a PDF file that I created by printing out an email, and I'm now sharing it in a WebEx with just a couple clicks, right? I can bring up the annotation tools over here on the left, and I can draw to my heart's content. I can highlight over the top of things. I can draw, boxes around things if I wanted to call attention to them. I can do little lines. I think I choose the single arrowhead. That's what I was going for. I can do a single arrowhead. All that stuff can stay on top of my PDF. Okay, as I scroll through and change pages of my PDF, those annotations are bound to this document. Okay, and then again, of course, I always have the option to save it out to UCF if I want to bring it back next session, continue editing, or I can save it out to PDF if this is my final document that I want to have and I just want to have it for my records. Okay. So PDF files are shareable really easily. You can share PowerPoint files very easily. This is one way of doing a PowerPoint. Let me see if this works, because I actually realized that I don't actually have PowerPoint on my computer, which would be an interesting test to see if it still loads. I'm going to guess it doesn't. Unable to share document. Yeah. So what it's going to need is it needs to actually open up your application. PowerPoint, or I think it actually said Keynote was an option in my case. I guess I have neither on my Mac. I don't know why. I guess I'm just, I've never needed it. So what it's going to do is open up a background process in one of those applications and distill your PowerPoint presentation down to a flat format. And so what is a flat format? Well, basically, if you've ever printed out a PowerPoint recording, a PowerPoint session, if you've ever printed out a PowerPoint deck, either it's a paper or you say print to PDF, that's essentially what you're going to end up getting. Okay. So if you were to go up here and share file and pick the PowerPoint file, you're going to get a flattened version of that document. So what does that mean? Well, so that means that if you have any, I don't know if people still use transitions and animations these days. I don't use PowerPoint all that much anymore. But you're going to lose the dynamic content like that. You're going to lose the dynamic content like if you have audio or video content in the PowerPoint. You're going to lose all of that by doing this method, by doing share file and sharing that PowerPoint file. And so a lot of folks have kind of come to accept that and say, sure, it's fine. That doesn't matter. You know, these fancy PowerPoints are falling a little more by the wayside these days, whatever. That's fine with me. I'll find other ways to handle my media. That's one option for you. But if you do rely a whole lot on your on multimedia, we're going to have to find other ways to share that content in your WebEx session. So I'll give you a few options for how to do that. Okay, but let me go ahead and do that now. I'd rather do it while we're thinking about it instead of coming back to it. It's okay if we interrupt the flow for a little bit here. So if you've got a PowerPoint file with an embedded like MP3 file, for example, an audio file that you want to play for your attendees in this session, what you're going to have to do is go back and find that and get that MP3 file itself. I think you're able to export it from PowerPoint, if I remember correctly. If it's actually already embedded in the document, you can take it and extract it from that PowerPoint and have it. Well, the key is you're going to need to have that file available in the file system on your machine or on the flash drive or whatever it is. That's why it's not my data right now. So I'm going to come up here to share, and I'm going to go back to file. Okay. And I'm going to choose, again, I think you can see this, I'm not sure you can, but I'm going to choose this audio file that I've got here. Okay, so I've got this MP3 file, and again, it adds it as a piece of content here. And I can click on it up here, and it's importing that media file. So it's also now basically pushing that media file out to all of you as well. Okay. So before I show you how it works on your end of things, I want to show you how it works here on my end. So this is, again, a new tab of audio. I can click and rename it if I want to, just to make it easier to, you know, for me to navigate to when I need to, excuse me. But basically what I've got here is just your regular little play box, right? I can seek here to a specific point in the audio file, and then I've got the play pause controls here. So as you'll see in just a second, I'm gonna exit screen sharing here in just a minute. The nice part about this is the fact that you're not going to have individual control over this audio file. You'll be able to control your volume, of course, but I have control over the play. So when I click play, the audio will play for each of you. Depending on network connection, it might start, you know, fractions of a second different. So I can't assume that we're 100% in sync. But I can assume that if I'm playing the first minute of this track, that I can hit play, let it go for a minute or a minute and 5 seconds, and know that we're all pretty much, we just heard the same clip. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I won't go a full minute. It's actually kind of a weird piano piece. But I am going to, let's see, we're at 32 seconds right now, so I'll just play maybe 5 to 10 seconds of it. I'll mute my microphone so that no extra noise comes in. You'll just hear the audio of this file, so I'm going to do that now. Stop sharing. So now you're back into the content view. You see the MP3 here. I'll mute my microphone and play that audio here for about 5 or 10 seconds. I suppose it's a little bit of a strange piece, but I love it. So I'm a musician by trade, so that's why I have a funky piano piece in my presentation. That's an explanation. So okay, Kathy says she didn't hear it. Was everybody else able to hear that? Okay. Or let me ask it this way: was anybody else unable to hear it? Okay, so several of you didn't hear it. Huh. Well, that's really kind of weird. A lot of folks didn't actually hear it. I wonder if it's because I muted my microphone. Let me try again. So I'm getting, as the reports are flooding in, that nobody could hear it. So somebody said they heard it. So oh boy, this is a mystery now. So let me try again and see if leaving my microphone on will change anything. Actually, you know what? So let me do this also. I'm going to do the non-scientific approach and re-import the MP3 file now that we're not in the sharing WebEx window mode. So I'm going to do the same exact thing I just did. I'm going to share that MP3 file, and it's going to reload hopefully for all of you now. So let me try this. Let me try pulling it up to. Let me just try playing it from the beginning again. I'm going to go for just a little bit. And if you can hear it, go ahead and chat in. I'm going to click play right now. Okay, so a lot of folks are not reporting they can hear it, and so I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up to the fact that when I initially did the MP3 share, I was doing it while sharing my meeting window. I think something funky must have happened in that process. I've never had a problem with that in a live in-person session before. So, and I don't think you'll all be in the situation where you're sharing your WebEx meeting window and then importing an MP3 file. So, okay, that's good to know. Thank you for the feedback. I'm glad that we got that sorted out. So, all right, so with that being said, I'm going to go back to sharing my meeting window. So with that being said, when you, WebEx makes a very concerted effort to protect copyright. And so all of that we just heard, even the second time through when I know that you all were able to hear on your end, this meeting recording is not going to have any of that audio. So WebEx is not going to record any of that. Again, it's for copyright. I mean, this is a copyrighted piece of music. It's off of a CD that I own. So it's, most of the time you can claim fair use for educational use and all that stuff. So I'm not worried about somebody knocking on my door and handcuffing me or anything for doing that just now. But WebEx basically says, well, hey, if we were to put that audio inside of a WebEx recording, we'd essentially be like redubbing, re-recording something that's copyrighted. So I think it's fairly understandable to me, at least, why they don't do that. I know it's kind of a pain, because if the audio file is an integral piece of your presentation, what you would have to do is provide an alternate means for accessing that MP3 file. So if you were going to share this recording with your users afterward, and you absolutely wanted to make sure they heard this, you'd want to provide them with some way of getting to that file. What you'd probably want to do is to ensure that you're adhering to copyright is, chop up the section you used, provide that as a download, or find somebody who's got it up on YouTube somewhere already. That way they can deal with the copyright issue. but provide that externally as a supplemental material. It's the only way you can do it, really. And the same is going to go for video as well. So video can be done the same way. So I'm going to see if I can, do I have a video file? I think I have a video file in my folder here. If I don't, no, I actually don't have a video file. How odd. But so a video file, like if you had a .mp4 or a .mov format video file, the process would be exactly the same. So you would basically go in here to share file, and you can see even right here it says including video. You can go in and you can load up the video file. It'll load in a little player application like this. You can see, you can click play, and you have that whole guarantee of synchronized playback. And so, but again, the audio for that is not going to come through at all. And so you're going to lose that piece in the recording. Sorry, the audio is not going to come through on the recording. It'll come through live in the session, but it won't come through in the recording. So if you do need to make sure that the video is shared out along with your recording of the session, you're going to want to find, again, a way to, provide a YouTube link or provide a short snippet as a file in addition to the WebEx recording file. All right. Okay. So continuing with the theme of I've got a PowerPoint that's got rich content in it, how do I share it? You have another option available. So what I'm going to do right now is show you a slideshow. I'm going to share my screen, and I've got a little Google Slides slideshow. That's where I do all my work nowadays, is in Google Slides. So if you haven't checked it out, it's kind of a nice shameless plug for Google Slides. But I operate a lot in the cloud because I've got several different machines that I'm bouncing back and forth between on a regular basis, so that's easier for me. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just show you a slide deck that I made for a separate presentation there. I'm going to show you, and I do have some animations in there, just little bullet point fade-ins that I'll show you, but I'm going to accomplish this by doing a screen share. So essentially what I'm doing is running the PowerPoint on my computer and doing a screen share instead of coming up here to say share file and loading up a PowerPoint file. Right, so that's one of your alternatives. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to my browser. Normally what you'd be able to do is share your PowerPoint application here. And I'll get into the nitty-gritty of that in just a minute. But since Google Slides is web-based, it works off my browser, so I'll go here to Chrome and share Chrome with you guys. Okay, so let's get back up here. So here's my slide deck. And it was about academic integrity and how to avoid violations and Canvas and all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just run my show as I normally would. Okay, so you are seeing my screen through the WebEx, and it's loading up my slides. Okay, so I'm going to get through, my colleague was doing a few slides here to start with. Let me get to my section here. Here we go. So I did a section on how to deter cheating and how to design quizzes in Canvas to deter cheating and all that stuff. So I'm going to run my slideshow as I normally would, and I'm going to click my buttons here to move forward. And so you can see my bullet points are fading in. You can see all of those extra little bits. On the next slide, I've got a GIF here. I'm not sure how well it's coming through frame rate wise, but you can see that I've got a little moving image here that's coming through. So little stuff like that will come through better if you run a PowerPoint or a slideshow, whatever it is, through a screen share. Because essentially it's just taking whatever you're showing on your screen and your computer screen, and it's broadcasting it in the WebEx. Okay. So yeah, I mean, all this stuff. This is the extent of the technology my PowerPoint does, or my slideshow does. Is it just does all these little fade-ins here. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this and come back to sharing my meeting window with you. Share my meeting window. Okay, so if your PowerPoint is basically, if the rich content you've got there, if that's the extent of it, you just want to make sure your fun little animations and transitions come through, and you've got maybe a few little GIF files that are animated in there that, you know, just need, they're kind of like little fluff on top of your PowerPoint. That's a great way to run the session, is to go up here and do share screen or share file, share application, and then choose your slide deck presenter, whatever it happens to be. That's a great way to do that. But you're going to run into problems if you need some of this multimedia, like the MP3 files, or the audio files and the video files. Because again, so let me get you in the right frame of mind here. So if I'm running a PowerPoint presentation on my computer, and I've got an MP3 file, okay, all PowerPoint cares about is the fact that, hey, I'm running a presentation. So when somebody clicks an audio file, I'm going to play the sound through the system speakers, right? Because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's how this works. And the same thing with the video, right? I'm going to play the video on the screen, and I'm going to play the audio for the video just like I normally would through the system speakers, right? Which is all fine. So that the problem is that WebEx is capturing my microphone. So it's capturing my headset right now. It's not capturing my system sound. So whatever I do, if I were to go in there and play an audio file just from like iTunes or something on my machine, you know, maybe you'll get some of it by way of it coming out of my computer speakers and then back to my microphone. Maybe, if that's how the way it's set up. But WebEx is not built to automatically tie itself into your system audio. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if you are to try and play an audio or video file from your computer as part of a PowerPoint, or if you do have an example, something like iTunes or whatever it is, and you just say, oh, I'm just going to go to my computer and screen share it and I'll play it back, it's not going to work. It's not going to work the way you need it to. That's why WebEx has all these features like share file, and you can do audio files and do video files to make sure that not only that the audio and video you want to share can be heard on the other end properly, but also, even if I could pipe my computer sound through my headset and through WebEx, WebEx heavily compresses audio. We use a technology called voice over IP. So it's used a lot in things like Skype, for example. It's basically, it reduces, in order to be more efficient at translating your voice data through an internet connection to somebody else, it's going to basically compress it as far as it can. The voice over IP standard, I think, is something like 12 megahertz, if I remember correctly. I used to teach a digital audio class, and so that's why I know all this stuff. But basically, it's going to compress. You know, you're hearing my voice not at the same fidelity you'd hear it if you're in the same room, but you're hearing it at a reduced quality. Because basically, WebEx says, okay, voice over IP says we can get a voice down to this. You know, we can pack it down this far, send it across the internet to be more efficient, and still have it be recognizable and understandable. So that's kind of what the voice over IP standard has helped to do. So that's my point, is even if you could get your system audio to play through WebEx, the audio would be degraded to voice over IP quality. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay in this case. That's all you need is just to do a basic audio file. But all that is to say that sharing multimedia files like this is most effectively done through the share file or through the share multimedia, which I'll get to in just a second. Okay, so that was a little bit of me waxing poetic about digital audio. I'm sorry about that. I just can't help myself sometimes. But there's a chat. How can we show a YouTube video? For example, we have one posted that discusses infants and toddlers. What do you recommend? Store it locally, upload to WebEx. Okay, that's exactly where I'm going next. So I'm glad somebody's reading my mind here. So let me just get a little water. And then I'll get right into that. So, right. So logically, let's say, okay, well, you say, all right, well, my video in my PowerPoint's not going to work. My video in whatever is not going to work through a screen share. So, well, let me see if it's on YouTube. Maybe I can play it through YouTube. I can just screen share my YouTube and that would work. Well, hopefully by now you kind of understand that that's the same problem, right? The YouTube, the web browser is going to play that video back and it's going to play the sound back through your computer speakers. So that's what it knows how to do. That's what it's supposed to do. And so you run into the same problem where the audio, even if you're hearing it well on your end as a presenter, is not going to be sent to the participants, or at least not in as good a quality as it needs to be. So to share a video, an online video, we are going to be able to do that through the multimedia sharing tool here in WebEx. Okay, so let me show you how that works, and I believe it's grayed out on my screen here because I'm sharing the meeting window. So let me double check and make sure that's the case. And I really hope I can demo this feature. I'm going to stop sharing my meeting window. I'm going to get you all back into normal participant view. So I'm going to thumb through my different slide decks here, and you can, see that I'm changing the content on you. But now if I share, oh good, it's here. If I share multimedia, it's going to ask me for a URL, okay? And the URL, YouTube works great. Other sites, I think Vimeo works great. I haven't tested a whole lot of other sites. But basically, this is used for sharing YouTube or Vimeo website videos. Let me go find one real quick. And I always end up with the same one just because it's the first thing I end up searching for. So I'm going to copy this video URL. So you're going to browse yourself over to your YouTube video. You're going to copy the URL, and then you're going to paste it into this Share Multimedia dialog box. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to show you what that looks like. So now, on the side of your screen, you've got a multimedia viewer, and it's actually starting to play for me automatically. I'm going to pause it real quick just to make sure everybody gets on the same page with this. Now this is the part that I'm actually not entirely sure of. The play controls for this video may be independent of me, so that might be something you can help me answer right now. So if the video is playing for you currently, go ahead and find a pause button and pause it. But I've paused it. I paused it a little while ago. Can you just go ahead? So Steve can pause it. When I paused it, then it didn't pause for you all, I'm assuming. That's the assumption I'm making. Yeah, so Shannon says she paused it. So a lot of folks. So versus the multimedia sharing. Oh, great. Okay, thank you for confirming all that. By the way, I should have been a little better prepared on that. But so if you were to go up here to share and then share file, you retain the play control. But when you use the multimedia sharing, yeah, it'll pull up the same video, but everybody's going to have their independent play controls on it. But basically, so if you click play on this video, it's going to show you all this, this multimedia, the funny cat videos or whatever it is. And I just played another little snippet. I skipped to about 36 seconds and hit play again. And I'm assuming that none of that came through for you all. So when you're using this multimedia viewer, it's going to be your responsibility to also ensure that your users know that they need to play pause themselves. So it would be great if so the goal would be, okay, I'm about to introduce a YouTube video for you. I'm going to click the multimedia viewer. I'm going to click go. And basically at that point in time, go ahead and watch about a minute of it and then pause it. So you're going to have to offload some of that responsibility onto your users for when to click play and when to click stop. So now I will take this opportunity to go ahead and show a couple of quick YouTube tips if you're interested. So let me go back over here sharing my web browser. And let me just check on the status of my headset. I think my headset might be, oh, we're doing okay still. Yeah, we didn't have that much further to go, so I think my headset will make it. Where am I? I'm going to go back to YouTube. So I'm going to go back to YouTube. I'm going to go back to that video. And I'm going to pause because I don't want that showing. All right. Okay. So on YouTube, I don't know how many of y'all know this, but you do have the ability to go through here. And so let's say the point of the YouTube video that you're trying to share is you want to show them, let's see, starting at about 52 seconds, for example. If this was really what I wanted people to see, then I can go through here and do this in YouTube itself. So in YouTube, you've got a share button here. So if you click share, you can generate a link that starts at 52 seconds. And so you just have to check this little box down here, and it'll go through and let you put in, you can put in your own number if you want, 50, 56, whatever it is. And then it'll give you a link here. So now if I copy this link and come back into WebEx, stop sharing, and then the multimedia viewer just came back up for me. So I'm going to go back up here and multimedia, and I will paste in that link with the time code is involved now. Click OK. And now, of course, it's going to show me an ad first, of course, to completely ruin my my flow here. But I did see before that ad came up that the playhead was over at the 56-second mark, and then of course YouTube did its thing with the ads and everything. So anyway, but there you go. So that's a recommendation I've got if you're going to be using video for people. Go ahead, if you're going to use YouTube, go ahead and know two things. Number one, you can pick your starting position by going to that share option within YouTube itself. But number two, when you click the multimedia sharing option here, it's going to start. So make sure you're ready for that when you go through and paste in that URL and hit go, and the video is going to start right away. So just good to kind of be ready. Okay. Okay, so Tony was disconnected and attempting to log back in. Yeah, that might happen occasionally with just internet connections or whatnot. Luckily, we're recording, so if she misses part of it, that's no big deal. So there's not a whole lot more that I wanted to talk about at this point. So okay, so Eleanor is going to, let's see, to reiterate, if you're sharing PowerPoint that has audio video, you will share your PowerPoint application or your file. That'll be a flat version. And then you'll have to share the audio and video separately as either another file or a multimedia URL. So Linda could not see the multimedia video. I'm wondering, it may be, let me pull up my, let me share again the meeting window just to kind of show what I'm looking at here. So in some of these panels, and some windows, depending on how big they are, like if I shrink down my meeting window a good bit, it will start collapsing things. And it might only show a handful of these panel icons up here. What you're going to want to look for is a button on the right-hand side here, this little pull-down button. I don't know if you can see my mouse is my annotation cursor right now. I'm going to get back to a normal mouse. Whatever works. It's the button up here next to notes, this little pull-down. And so if I click that, I would, in that case, have the multimedia panel or additional panels available to me. So let me do this. Let me share one more multimedia. You'll have to pause this again real quick. Or actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click stop sharing. Oh, and then it started automatically for me. There we go. So if you can't currently see, I'm going to go ahead and pause mine. You can go do the same. If you can't currently see the multimedia viewer panel, go to the very, very top right of your window, click that downward facing little caret, and see if you have an option to pull up your multimedia viewer. And if you don't, it might just be a little bit of weirdness because, again, I'm going back and forth and sharing my WebEx window with you and going in and out of all of that sharing of the WebEx window. So anyway, so yes, that's what, so Eleanor's chat, I think you can all see it because we're all on a group chat here. But her point was essentially what I'm about to outline for you here on a new whiteboard, which is sharing in WebEx a PowerPoint deck in WebEx. So option one will be to be okay with the flat file. So either load in the file through share file, or from PowerPoint itself, you can print out to PDF, or you can save as a PDF. I think most Microsoft applications have that ability now to go ahead and do it. It might even be under save as, like save as PDF. So if you're okay, if you don't have, this is good for presentations with no dependency on animation, transitions, multimedia, etc. So if you don't have any really visual AV components that you just really want to go through a slide deck page by page, this is your way to go. Easiest way. It's going to be, just super simple. Don't have to worry about that. Option two is to screen share. This will bring screen share yourself running the PowerPoint on your computer. This is great, picking up little animations, GIFs, etc., but will not pick up audio video. Share whiteboard. I'm not seeing what you're seeing. Oh, okay. You know what I got to do is click okay. You can see it now. Because you can't actually, I went off the side of the page, but it's just a little quirk of WebEx. So that happened because I didn't actually finish my text box. When I have a text box going, it doesn't publish it to the view until I'm all done clicking in it. So anyway, so those are a good couple of options here. So the bottom line, I'm going to do this and I'll finish in just a second. For AV in WebEx, you've got to have alternative copies of audio or video files. And in fact, it's alternative copies or view methods. Okay, so this, if you're doing any multimedia work, you've either got to have the MP3, either MP3, MP4, or MOV file via share file, or YouTube, Vimeo, etc. via multimedia. Share multimedia. Okay, so that's kind of the Cliff Notes summary of when you're sharing a PowerPoint through WebEx, especially when a PowerPoint does depend on multimedia and everything. So option 4, which we haven't, 3, I'm getting ahead of myself. Option 3 that we didn't really talk about is basically for you to kind of reconstruct your PowerPoint here in WebEx through the use of whiteboards file sharing. So you could do that. I mean, I could see a pretty easy way to do that if you just kind of rebuild up your slide deck here with the text option. You can retype stuff or copy paste stuff. You know, be able to thumb through pages up here at the top of the window. PowerPoint, WebEx does allow you to share. We talked about audio video files, but you can also share image files too. So if you wanted to share a picture, I'm going to do that real quick just to show you how that works. And I think the one picture that I've got, there's a theme today because I showed you a cat video, and I think I've got a cat picture sample image. There we go. So I'm going to show that with you all right now. And you don't see it now because I've got to go to it here as the presenter. But I'm going to pull that up, sample image, and there you go. So those are cats. Those happen to be my cats. And the nice part about sharing image files here is you can, again, WebEx content sharing is all geared toward being able to work on whatever you're sharing. So I can go ahead here and add a text box, and I can use that to share the names of my cats if I want to. So my cat's in my own booth. And, you know, I could even draw arrows to them if I wanted to, you know, be very explicit. So, you know, so your annotation tools all work the same way on the side here. Anyway, so it's probably not something you're gonna be doing very often, I would imagine, if you've already got PowerPoints. But if you just like working in WebEx and want to make sure that you don't have to mess with how to share a PowerPoint or whatever it is, you could always use whiteboards, file sharing, and all that stuff to kind of build up your WebEx slides as different content tabs here in WebEx itself. So not the lowest overhead way to do it, but it's an option. Okay, so we're running WebEx quit. This is WebEx quit on her. Where's my chat? So having some problems reloading the room link. It's quitting at about 75% and then stopping. Yeah, running. So when WebEx quits abnormally, if it crashes, that can be the most problematic thing to solve. So why don't I just go ahead? There's a few other things I was going to mention, but I'm not sure they're all that important to the way you're going to be using WebEx. So let me share something else that could be more important for you as folks who are going to be facilitating sessions. Basically, so there's, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the TV show. It's a British comedy, The IT Crowd. But if not, you're probably still familiar with the old adage of the first thing that you do if something's not working is just turn it off and turn it back on again. And so we kind of follow that same mentality with the first troubleshooting steps in WebEx. So what I usually do with WebEx is WebEx doesn't install a whole bunch of different, I'm gonna switch my headset here though. Hopefully you can still hear me. Can everybody still hear me okay? Just somebody chat me real quick to make sure. That's great, thank you. I had to take one of my earbuds out because the battery is dying. So I'm going to charge that up real quick in case this other one starts to go too, and then I can at least kind of do the switch earbuds dance and keep the session going. Anyway, so you don't have to necessarily turn your computer off and on again, but I kind of go through that same approach with let's purge WebEx from your system and then reinstall it. It's not that hard to do. The very first time you run a WebEx, if today was your first WebEx session run, then you went through the installation process of, oh, hey, download the browser plugin, download the WebEx little add-on, and boom, you're in. That's all you ever have to do for WebEx. It's very lightweight. It's very easy to do. So there's an uninstaller that I recommend running. And so what I'm going to do is, it's not going to help Tanya, maybe one of you guys can email her or something. But I'm going to go ahead and quickly, give me 2 seconds to find this link. I need more than 2 seconds. I did lie to you. I'm sorry. I hope you'll forgive me. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and find this link. So there's an uninstaller package for both the Windows environment and the Mac environment that you can run. And I found that, probably 8 out of 10 times, if somebody just had a problem like that where WebEx quit on them and they have to just get back in and it doesn't work well. Let's see, here they are, and I will copy paste. You run this uninstaller and then just try to jump back into WebEx and it'll go through and install everything fresh. And so that's a little bit easier to go off of. So let me come back to the session now that I found the links. I'm going to paste them in the chat. And that's a big chunk of text, so you may have to just open up that chat window by itself. But I've got a procedure and a tool for Windows, as well as a procedure and a tool for Mac. So for Windows, you can also just have them go to the control panel and uninstall it normally, like you would uninstall any other application on the computer. And then again, come back to the session, go through, you'll be walked through that initial setup again, since your computer won't be able to detect WebEx on it anymore. So that's the general, rudimentary, solves about 80% of the issues solution for you. So as facilitators, hopefully it's helpful to have you know that. And honestly, anything past that, we don't have experience with troubleshooting it very much here because it doesn't get that far most of the time. The uninstall, reinstall usually helps. And if it doesn't, there's not a whole lot that I personally know how to do anyway. So honestly, I would say go ahead and call Cisco at that point for the fastest resolution if you are having trouble with getting somebody into a session like that. So anyway, so there's that. I'm going to go back to my other whiteboard here that had the instructions on it. As much as I love looking at my cats, maybe you guys would rather see this instead. Anyway, so with the remaining time that we've got today, what I would like to do, is I have a couple of other little things that I could mention, like if you think, but I guess I will go ahead and defer to Steve and Eleanor to make sure that I know exactly the use cases that you're looking for. But I could do things like sharing how to allow other people to annotate on a whiteboard. That's something I haven't covered. The challenge is that most of the attendees will only join us one time, so the autonomy experience basically means the attendee misses the session. Yeah, and that's, so I guess one thing to potentially help with that, and I think you guys ran through this, I encouraged Eleanor to share this with you ahead of time, but there is a test meeting. And so the reason for install, and that, I mean, that won't necessarily help with something like what Tanya experienced, who was in here for most of the session, had some random, you know, glitch or something that doesn't happen all that often, to be frank. And then, you know, in the middle of the session, like 3/4 of the way through the session, then can get back in. But it will help alleviate a lot of the setup issues. So that meeting URL that you were sent, and that I assume that most of you were able to do for the test WebEx, that I sent that out to make sure that everybody had a chance to get that WebEx plugin installed before this session started. And so that would just alleviate a lot of concern about, hey, I'm trying to join the meeting and I'm having a hard time getting the plugin installed or whatever it is. At least at that point, if there were any problems, we could address that before it's 9 a.m. on Wednesday when the session is supposed to be starting, and instead we're troubleshooting people. So I don't have a silver bullet solution for trying to make sure WebEx never screws up, because it's software, it's a computer. The software it's not bulletproof, and people's internet connections are not bulletproof. I don't know what her situation was with her internet connection. I don't know what to blame it on personally, but stuff like that is going to happen. We do the best we can to prevent it from happening. And so the best way to go is to make sure that people know, you know, you really should you should go through and do a test session before your real session, give all your participants a chance to get set up with WebEx so that they know what they need to do when they get in here, and then make sure that they have a strong internet connection. Do you have a standard set of instructions for introducing attendees to using WebEx? I don't have anything personally like printed up and ready to go. Basically, if you were here at the start of the session, that's how I like to run things when I'm doing a WebEx. I like to just basically give people the test meeting ahead of time to get them into what it looks like. And then the most important thing for them is to understand the stuff here that I have on the welcome board, minus the smiley face. But just basically, okay, as a host, you know, my job is not only to convey the content and run the meeting. My job is to be to help the users understand how we're going to be doing things and how the technology is going to be used. So, you know, things like this where I say, as you enter, join the audio conference, make sure your mic is muted. The little thing, as you pop into the conference, you can just read that and join the conference, hit mute, and you're good to go. Things like this, if you have questions, like how do you want people to communicate with you during the session? And I just put this up here a little bit to say, hey, if you have questions, just shoot them to me in chat. I did verbally mention as well, if you wanted to unmute your mic, that was fine. That was fine too. For me, when I run a session like this, you know, I typically like to have chat. So for me, it's going to a lot come down to personal preference, honestly. It's how you want to run the meeting. So I took some time at the beginning to make sure everybody knew how to use the mic and to have them introduce themselves and say hi. That can be done in 5 minutes or less, or you can skip it. Again, if people just need to make sure that they can hear you, then that's not as big of a deal if you don't need microphone interaction. But I just, you know, I think putting up a whiteboard with just your own preferences as to how to run the meeting, you know, when you join, mute your mic. We'll be recording the session. If you have questions, here's how to get a hold of me, whatever. That's a great way to kind of set your expectations, and then you know, just instead of giving people a checklist of like, well, to unmute your microphone and do all this, you know, go to this button over here. I just prefer to be a little more interactive with that, hands-on. Hey, just say hi. If you can't find the button, here's where it is, and just click the button, and then you can talk to us. And so that's my personal preference. But I leave it up to the host. I find that to be a very personal thing for each host. Okay, so with a few minutes left, I do have an 11 o'clock I got to jump off to get to, but I can handle a couple more quick questions if anybody has anything in the chat, or if there's any quick features that you guys want to see demoed. Like I said, you can allow a whiteboard annotation for your participants if you want to do that. But I didn't get a chance to share that today. I don't know if it's going to be something relevant to your situations. But if there's anything else, if anybody has questions, go ahead and shoot them into the chat. I think my mic might be dying on me. My headset here is looking like it's about ready to give up the ghost. So any takers at all? Anybody have anything that they want to cover or have questions about how they want to run their session? Well, Steve, I'm glad to hear that it was helpful. I'm really happy that things went well here. I don't do a whole lot of training purely on WebEx through WebEx, and so I'm glad that everything was still pretty clear for everybody, despite me sitting in a conference room here and you all sitting remotely. So I'm very happy to help. I'm going to chat in here my email address if you want to get a hold of me. So you can, if you have any questions as we follow up, yes, I will send the link to the recording file out, and then you'll be able to download the file. And if you guys want to download a copy of the file and upload it yourselves to Box, totally fine. That's doable. And to Kathy's point of being able to play around and learn by doing, yes, absolutely. I recommend that all the time. You guys all have your WebEx is available for your personal UNCG accounts as well. So you can just log in and you can kick off some sessions, play around, get a family member to join in. People don't have to be UNCG members. They don't have to have UNCG accounts to join a session. So, okay, as a follow-up, I will definitely send this recording out to Eleanor, and if you can forward it out to you guys, and then if one of you wants to download the file, it'll be a .arf file. You can then take it and shoot it up to your Box account, and that'll be great. I can't do it automatically, but I can at least give you the download so you can do it on your own. All right, I got to run, and so I'm happy to have taken the time. I hope you guys all enjoy using WebEx, and feel free to contact me at that email address if any questions do come up, all right? All right, guys, I'm sorry to have to jump off so quickly. You're very welcome. All of you are very welcome. It was great to spend time with you this morning, so thanks for sitting here and listening to me and looking at me.